Welcome back to the Keeping It Real with KC podcast. I, of course, am your host, KC Phoenix. I'm like sitting up on my, well, not chair, I guess you could say stool, because they have like a little bar stool at the table. But yeah, I'm cleaning up from my previous reading I just did. It was the economy reading for the collective, which is really like a money reading for the collective. And I decided I also want to do a explanation in regards to your story versus the message, because that was on my spirit yesterday, and I was looking to record it yesterday, but I was like, you know what, I'll just go ahead and do it Saturday. So here we are. When it comes to your story versus the message, when people watch tarot readings, sometimes they think something is their story and it's not. It's just they're resonating with the message, is what they're resonating with. And the best way I can probably explain this is by using a movie as an example. I'm sure that you have seen the movie Rocky. Like, Rocky is one of the greatest franchises of all time. I love the Rocky franchise, especially Rocky IV. I love Rocky IV. But talking about the movie Rocky, if I were to tell you about Rocky and you had never seen the movie, and telling you about him being the underdog and how he had to train and how people wrote him off and so on and so forth, as I'm telling you about him, you're like, wow, I can really that's really resonating. Yeah, it is. But is it your story? It can't be your story because it's Rocky's story. That's whose story that is. The message about being the underdog can resonate with you. You can listen to a tarot reading and it not be your story, but the message in the reading can still resonate. Because I know how to separate when I watch tarot readers, the message from the story. Because as soon as they say something that's not my story, I say out loud, that's not my story. But certain things that are being said, I'm still resonating with the message. Now, there may be things that they're talking about that it's like, oh yeah, that did happen to me. And that might be my timeline. But really, it's more of, okay, you're resonating more with the message. Now, I've had readings done on me where, like, someone did a reading on me many years ago, the first person, which she was a Reiki master. And I knew she was real because she told me things about me that my mother doesn't even know about. That's the thing. And not that my mother knows everything about me, because she doesn't. But with what was being said to me, it was like nobody else would know this. And that was my story. That was my story. She was telling me my story, is what she was doing. Now, there was a message in there too, but what she was telling me was my story. And I was able to differentiate that from the message. And that's what I say to you. When you're listening to me or other people who read tarot cards and read energy and do premonitions and everything else, you have to learn how to separate the story from the message. There can be a message in the story, but just because there's a message in the story doesn't mean that story is your story. And it can be difficult at times. I always tell people, one of the things they can do is look for the message instead of looking for your story. Because what could be your story during one reading may not be your story during the next reading. And that's why it's better to just listen to the reading and see if there's a message in the reading that you can take with you and use in your life, versus looking for your story in the message. So it's the other way around. You have to look for your message in the story. And that's what you would want to consider gravitating to first. And that will more than likely help you find a lot of answers. Because look, I've watched a ton of tarot readings. That's actually how I first learned to read tarot cards, and still do to this day. With certain things. Other things is through outside stuff and doing and picking up energy and all that stuff. But I've watched a lot of readings, and I've noticed that there's always a message in the reading. Now, will every message be something that you feel you can use? No. It's like, no, I can't do anything with that. And that's fine. That's totally fine. There are billions of people on the planet. There are multiple billions of timelines. Because you have to remember, think of everyone having a string attached to them. 8 billion people on the planet now? So yeah, 8 billion people with a string attached to them. And when that person with the string meets another person, those two strings cross each other. And then they start to intertwine. Now, how they're intertwined may be for a moment. It may be for a few years. It may be for a few decades, or it may be their entire lifetime. It may only be for a few seconds. Who knows? But when that happens, that creates another timeline. Because now these two souls have connected. And by connected, I mean they've had some type of interaction to each other. Like if I were to walk outside, there was a man standing outside just a moment ago when I was looking through my window. I guess he was doing his exercises or whatever. If I were to walk by where he was doing his exercises and I say hello and then he says hello back, that is our timelines crossing, is what's happening. Because we've made contact. I will probably remember his face, he'll probably remember my face. And then that could be something later on because our timelines have already crossed. So that's already something right there. Mind you, doing the things daily, just like the lady that I talked to at Target, because I shop at Target a lot, or Target, as the proper people say. You know, I shop at Target a lot, and there's this one lady that I see there all the time. Our timelines have crossed. Where if I saw her outside of Target, I'm pretty sure she would say hello to me and vice versa. Because the timelines have crossed. And now because our timelines have crossed, anything that is connected to her timeline has a possibility. It doesn't mean that it's going to, but it has a possibility of being brought into my timeline. It's almost like when you have a friend. And that friend, if that friend has drama going on in their life, sometimes their drama will cross on over into your timeline too. So that's the thing. There's so many timelines where a general tarot reading and even a one-on-one tarot reading may not cover exactly what it is that you're looking for. Or it may cover the truth, but you don't realize it in that moment. Because that's happened too with people, where a reader says something in that moment and that person's like, that doesn't make any sense. But then later on, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, that person was right. So that's the thing. But my daily thought on this is that look for the message and not for your story. Instead of looking for your story and then trying to find the message. Look for the message, and then if you happen to find your story, great. If not, you still have the message that you can carry with you to add to your story in life. And that is my daily thought. KIRWKC.com, main podcasting platform. This podcast is carried on Apple, Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Overcast, Bullhorn, Amazon Music, Audible, and several other podcasting platforms. Please feel free to listen to this podcast on whatever platform is most convenient for you. KIRWKC on all the social media platforms. Until next time, be blessed.